Hello, everybody. This is Charles with Ravorisports. Sports. Thank you for joining us this week. Like and subscribe to all of our social media platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. If you're watching this, thank you for joining us on all of our social media platforms that we have. Thank you very much. Also, too, business out the way. So we're going to go ahead and take care of this now. Bravery Sports Tour. If you see it at the bottom of the screen, where you could come out and see us all through the month of August, we're going to have stops Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, for Frederick folks, Boonesboro for our Hagerstown folks there as well, White Post, Virginia, out there for also Winchester, Virginia area, and also in Baltimore, near and dear to my heart, at the Patapsco Flea Market. So thank you for joining us with that. Genesis Notary Services is our business that we go out. If you're looking for notary services in any of those places there, in the Shenandoah Valley area, the Winchester, VA area, uh, Northern Virginia, etc., we can go ahead and get you taken care of with all of that notary business. So thank you very much for joining us with Bravery Sports this week. All right, you see what the stream is called. It is the Ravens. So we're going to get down to the business of the podcast here. Bravery Sports position balance for 2023 for the Baltimore Ravens. This year, now the Ravens are looking at a couple of things, right? You got Lamar Jackson in the fold, you got Odell Beckham in the fold. You go ahead, you got Ronnie Stanley back. You have a lot of positions where you are absolutely solidified with things. You also have a couple of positions here that are up for grabs. You also have a couple of positions here where it is not as obvious, right? So let's talk about those things because though whoever wins those positions kind of shows you okay, strength of a team, strength of a football unit, and strength of how well the team is going to do, even the strength of the people in the position that itself. So keep that in mind. On the screen there, you kind of see the battle there. Mike Tyson and Vander Holyfield there kind of showing you the struggle with two guys fighting for the spot. By the way, okay, let's just get this out the way since I haven't had a chance to talk about boxing here. Tyson was not the greatest heavyweight of all time, with all due respect to him. Okay? People keep saying that. He got beat by this guy. He got beat by Lennox. He probably would have got beat by Tyson Fury. So as great as he wasn't the greatest. So let's just get that out there. All right. So let's take a look here at the positions. So first up, we're going to look at the wide receiver position. So at wideout, so you got Rashad Bateman, who is the incumbent, I guess you could call it that. 515 yards, 2 touchdowns last year. Zay Flowers, 10 receptions. I'm sorry, 100. Sorry, over 1,000 yards last year at Florida State. The rookie first round draft pick. The Ravens picked him in the first round. One of them will be the two receiver. I'm pretty sure the other one will be the third receiver. Zay Flowers has looked good so far. I think he's been working out with Lamar Jackson. We've been seeing that, videos of that, trying to get that chemistry already. Rashad Bateman, clearly last year he was their best receiver. I don't think there's any question about it. I think the struggle in the passing game really had to shift when they lost Rashad Bateman. I think I think it'll be Zay Flowers in the number two spot. I definitely believe that. Zay Flowers, I think, is probably the best receiver, not named Odell Beckham. I think you're going to see a lot of deep ball with him. I think they want to pass more. Bateman, I think, is a very good route runner. Lots of injuries. He did miss minicamp. I don't like that. Um, Not that I don't like him, but I think it kind of like this is the issue with him in the beginning, like the injuries. He was drafted, it wasn't drafted as high because of injuries. He got hurt in first season, he got hurt last year. I think that's a real thing. So I think that is part of the deal. Why I think Zay Flowers is going to be the number two receiver. Let's move to number four, Nelson Aguilar. Nelson Aguilar is also going to be competing, I think, with Devin Duvernay. I think the two and three are pretty set there. So I think Aguilar and Duvernay are going to be the main two competing for the four receivers. There are going to be others, okay? James Prochet is still on the team. Tylan Wallace is still on the team. Shamar Bridges, guys like that. Andy Isabella. I think they're all competing, I think, for one roster spot. I think you may carry six. These two, I think, for sure will be there. Nelson Aguilar, I think they spent $3 million. I think they pretty much know what they're getting with him. I think the reason I think he'll definitely be the four and not Duvernay. I think they probably, if there is an injury, let's say another injury to Rashard Bateman, just use that for example, they're probably more comfortable with putting him in. He's a vet, can get some tough catches, doesn't have to play every down. Had 362 yards. I think they're very comfortable with him. Duvernay, I think, is. I'm not sure he's a real receiver. I think um, with his speed, I've seen with him a lot of times struggle to get separation, which is very strange considering how fast he is. He struggles, I think, with route running. I think when he's done well, he's been unguarded, or they've had gadget plays. I think he's good at. He's good on the punt return. He's good on the kick return. I think he's good, run a reverse, etc. They've given him, I think, every chance to establish himself. I think he'll still get a chance. I think he'll still get a chance to kind of establish himself as their fourth receiver. I think it'll be Aguilar and him as the fifth. I think even that might be in subject, but I don't think they're going to get rid of him on the kick and return. I think he's one of the best in the league there, and so that pretty much keeps him in the five spot. So I think those five will definitely be there. Duvernay, I think, winds up as the fifth receiver, and Aguilar as the fourth. Very interesting one here. So Ben Powers had the career year last year. Ben Powers was very good for the Ravens last year. He goes there, gets a big contract to Denver, so he's moving on to Denver. And now this year, we got a couple guys. We got Ben Cleveland, was drafted early a few years ago in the third round. Daniel Falele, maybe the biggest guy in the whole NFL. God, huge, man. I mean, he is 380 pounds, 6'8", huge, just huge guy. And Masala Lalutu. One of these times I'm going to say that right. I'm trying to say it. But this seems simple enough, right? Okay, Ben Powers is gone. You put in Ben Cleveland. They drafted him a couple of years. He's supposed to be the starter. I think he's decent enough. Daniel Falele, I think, was better than expected last year. I think they kind of looked at him, mid-round guy developed, and they put him in. And he wasn't bad. I think he was kind of up and down at tackle. So I think like they're going to give him every consideration at guard. What was interesting is Lalutu. I looked at the depth charts and things for the mini camps and the OTAs, and he was running with the first team. I saw it in several places. I saw that a couple. So it's very interesting to see that he ran with the first team. In spite of it. Now that said, he is a rookie. It could have been they're sitting Cleveland to go ahead and say, okay, well, all right, let's see how the young guy does with the first unit. Let's sit our vets. Interesting, interesting. I'm not ready to say that yet, but I think it's definitely more in the mix than I would have thought for him. I think if he's running with the first team, he might have. I don't know yet. I don't have enough information on that yet. I'm going to stick with Ben Cleveland. If I'm going to do a prediction here and say that he's probably going to be with the first team. He's the most seasoned at the position. I think he's good enough to. I think he's been fighting injuries a lot. I think if he could stay healthy, I think he's probably good enough to handle it over there. Very interesting to see how this goes going forward. I think it'll be Ben Cleveland, but interesting that he was not running with the first team. In a lot of places I saw he wasn't running the first team. I knew he was the first team left guard. Nose tackle. Let's check this out. Travis Jones and Michael Pierce are there as well. Michael Pierce is the veteran. Yeah, he's listed on depth chart as the first team. A lot of the depth charts. First team guy. Travis Jones is listed as well there as the Travis Jones. Travis Jones was there last year, played with the injury to Mike Pierce last year. I think this is Travis Jones' time. I really do. I really thought his PFF numbers were underrated. I really liked the way he played. I see a lot of Brandon Williams from him. I thought he was kind of underdrafted. I think because of where he played. He played at UConn. He didn't play at Alabama or anything like that. At least to end his college career. I really like him. I really think Travis Jones, this is going to be time. I think he's going to be a nose guard, nose tackle going forward. I think Pierce, I think for him to play less is going to work for him. I think he's starter capable, but I think with the injuries that he's had, he sat out the whole year with COVID 2022 season. I think last year for the injured. I think this is his time to go ahead and maybe like be in a rotational type deal. I think it'd be a great spot to be in a rotation if you have a Michael Pierce though as a rotational. I think Jones is going to be your starter. Rocket Sin and Kai Blue Kelly. Um, some people might not even view this as a big competition here. I think this is going to be closer than what people think. Rocket Sin looked really good according to all reports in the mini camps and everything and the OTS. So he was the starter. I'm not opposite of Marlon Humphrey. I'm just not excited about Rocky Sin as the corner. This it would be sometimes guys line in the right place. Maybe Baltimore is the right place for him. Just looking at everything I've seen in him, really no interceptions for his career. Kind of average, kind of like Colts kind of let him go. Raiders kind of let him go. Um, I don't know about this one. Definitely he looked good. He's definitely more seasoned than too. Kyle Kelly, I think he's a very interesting prospect of the two. I'm aware that Brandon Stevens is there. I think he's going to play a little bit more safety this year. I think also too with there's Pepe Williams still there and Justin Armour Davis. I think they're going to be in the mix. I think Kyle Kelly's going to be the guy. Interesting if you're looking for a guy in the long term to take away from that position. This is going to be, I think, the guy they're looking at. I think they kind of felt like they kind of drafted him low. Very good college player. I think probably the only reason he was so low in the draft, he's not that traditional burner with all that speed, but I think he did very well. Interesting. This more likely will be Rocky Senate to start. So keep an eye on this as the season goes. One more here. Outside linebacker, pass rush. Travis Robinson, David Ajabo, Adafiore. Travis Robinson is really good. I think he was really good in college. I think he's going to set the tone um, as a rookie. I think he's going to be pushing these other two guys. Owe, I just don't see it. I think Odafio, I would say this, and I think I've said this every time I talk about Odafio. Phenomenal athlete. Phenomenal. I think if this was American Gladiators or WWE or something like that, if we're just doing athleticism, I think he's as good as anybody. He seems to lack to me football instincts. He was athleticism off the page at Penn State, no sacks. Kind of you see that him here. Some days he's good, he athlete, he beats his guy, and then he can't get, I think he's a little bit to be desired there as a QB, as a guy. The guy, I'm really thinking it'll be David Ajabo getting most of the time here. The Ravens, I think, were thrilled to get him. Played with Mike McDonald in college. That's a good thing. So he understands defense right away. He's not one of these young guys that's going to take a while to figure out your defense or figure out if he fits in. He's going to understand the whole playbook, right? He already understands the whole playbook. I think he didn't play all really last year. I mean, very little. He's looked good so far, and I think he's going to be your guy. Tyus Bowser, I think, has his own spot. I don't think he's a true pass rusher, but he's going to be your other outside linebacker. I think he's going to do his thing regardless. So I think the most of the time he's going to go with one of these guys or whatever, or on the other side of Tavis Bowser. I think it'll be David Ajabo getting the starting nod there. Also, too, with that, have not heard anything yet with Justin Houston. Have not heard anything yet with have not heard anything yet with Justin Houston. Have not heard anything yet with JPP. So vets are fascinating like that sometimes. Sometimes they might just show up right at when the camp starts. Hey, I don't need OTAs. It could be that, or we don't know if the Ravens' interest is winning. Certainly with these guys, especially at the pass rush, you want to see how they do with the first team. You want to see how they do, like I mentioned with the guard. Sometimes you want to see it. Okay, how do they look with the first team? Do we need to go even go get a veteran? Are this guy's exceeding our expectations? Is this guy really ready to go? Is this guy on the right track? Do we maybe need to do that? So keep that in mind going forward. All right. So let's look at the quarterbacks here. We're going to do some larger internet content. And we're going to go over this is my version of the top 10 quarterbacks of the NFL. 8 of these, I think, are pretty obvious, right? I thought the last 2 were the hardest to do. I think there's maybe some suggestions on a lot of lists I've seen, but this is the one that I have as far as the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. So very interesting. I think obviously too, most of them are AFC quarterbacks, not as many in the NFC. I think the last 2 are very interesting. A lot of people forgot about these guys. Matt Stafford, number 10, LA Rams. Hey, look, guy just won a Super Bowl year before last. Um, Long, solid career in Detroit. Led the Rams to the Super Bowl when they had enough weapons there. I think the Rams are going to come back. I think a lot of their problems down the stretch, especially they didn't have Stafford, they definitely would have won more games. Um, I like the way he plays. I think he's a bit old schoolish. Throws the ball down the field more. Very good deep ball thrower. Doesn't just dig dunk. I think that's why he has more interceptions because he's more of a risk taker, a little bit more chunk plays. That's why I like Stafford. I think if I wanted a chunk play, this is a guy like Matthew Stafford. Uh, I think though in the NFC especially, he's in a really good position as far as quarterbacks go. I don't think most of these are in the AFC. Everybody's forgetting about how good Deshaun Watson was. Deshaun Watson is as good of a quarterback as you can have. Deshaun Watson played very well before he actually had all of his injuries, before he had not his injuries, all of his legal issues and all that. There's a reason why the Browns were trying so hard to get him, and the Saints and all those other teams were bidding so far. There's a reason why he's got this guaranteed deal. He didn't play much last year. Um, I don't think they were looking for him to play much. Just kind of get his feet wet. They weren't sure they were going to have him at all. Had him for a couple games. I think with a whole offseason, working with Amari Cooper, I think he's definitely back in the top 10. I don't think he's as good as Lamar Jackson, and but I think definitely he's right there in the top 10 in terms of quarterbacks. I think his production would be right there right around 9. Aaron Rodgers, 4-time NFL MVP. So that's a pretty good credentials he's got. I think the slippage with Aaron. I think as good as he's been, I think his passing percentage you won't have to worry. He's going to be at 69, 70% regardless. Um, I think also as well, there's a reason why the Packers got rid of him. I think they think the best days behind them. They did miss the playoffs, and frankly, they were sick and tired of this guy. Um, this happens a lot with great players, and after a while, even as great as they've been. They were the Bulls. I mean, if anything, they were sick of Jordan. uh, I think the Steelers were absolutely sick of Roethlisberger at the end, and I think the Packers were just sick of acquiescing and all this stuff that Rodgers had going. That said, this is a massive quarterback upgrade. This is one of the biggest ones I've ever seen because the Jets were just god awful quarterback. They were doing cartwheels over Mike White beating the Bears last year. So this is a massive quarterback upgrade getting Aaron Rodgers. I definitely think he's, I can say this too, chip on his shoulder now. Got rid of me, didn't want me. Guy like Aaron Rodgers, he's going to work even harder. Number 8. Number 7, I think this guy is ascending player, Trevor Lawrence. Um, Outstanding college quarterback, number 1 overall pick. And I think last year he really kind of came to his own. He's the only thing in him at times. Sometimes I wonder where his brain goes. Um, not he's stupid, but like sometimes he just looks like does things that are confusing. The last season he seemed to put it more together though. Consistently enough, athletically he looks fantastic. I think intellectually, I think he's a good physical gifts at the quarterback position. I think he's probably also too going to be aided by that lousy division that he's in. But not even close, best quarterback in that division, Jags. And I think Calvin Ridley's coming. Again, look at that list as well. Like who's on the team now? I think that was a very underrated acquisition for them. Jalen Hurts, number 6. Jalen Hurts is pretty daggone good. Jalen Hurts was very good last year. And as far as leading his team to the Super Bowl, had a massive contract extension. Um, Hurts, I don't have higher, I think, in part because the 1 year. As good as he was last year, that was just one season. Year before, I wouldn't put him in the elite category. This year, seems a bit much, I think, to put him that high. So that's that's a bit much, I think, to have Jalen Hurts that high, higher than six. I think six is about right. I think going forward, I think the sky's the limit for this guy. I think if he can stay healthy, he's really, really good. I think this is probably, though, one of the better stories I could ever remember. I think in any sport of a guy really improving. Here's a guy who was bench championship game in Alabama, left Alabama, uh, it could involve himself into a passer, involved himself into a NFL quarterback drafted, involved himself. I mean, this is as good as a improvement that I've ever seen. Good job by Jalen Hurts, number six on the rankings here. Justin Herbert, I think you're casting a movie, throwing a football. This is the guy you want, Justin Herbert. Very smart guy at Oregon. Very good in his pro career. Athletically throwing the ball. I call it back. There's a difference to me between like a Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson or whatever athlete at the quarterback position, and an overall athlete and an athletic quarterback. Jalen Justin Herbert is an athletic quarterback. Throws the ball, deep ball, accurately, very smart with his decisions. Kind of reminds me of Rodgers a bit, the way he plays. The only knock on him I have, the reason he's not higher is he hasn't won anything yet. Um, why are you getting knocked out in the first round, Justin? Why are you not getting your team further? I mean, he had more talent, I think, than the Chiefs last year, and you got beat. What's going on, man? A lot of it being hanged on the coach. I got to hang a little bit on the quarterback. Statistically, physically, outstanding elite quarterback, Justin Herbert, number five. Josh Allen, body of work. This guy is higher than Herbert. That's why he's higher than ours. This guy has been phenomenal for the Bills over the years. I think he's a tad overstated a bit, maybe. I don't have him as high as the other guys on this list, the one, but I think he is really, really good. Runs the ball well. Bigger, stronger, athletic person than Ben Roethlisberger. That makes sense. That's a scary thought. And uh, bit erratic as a thrower. At I think erratic maybe is too strong a word, but I think kind of like Stafford. I think he's not afraid of interceptions. He's going to take a little risk and things like that. I don't think that's all the time bad, but quarterbacks a lot of times are judged by interceptions. I like Allen a lot. I think Allen. I think is the reason why Buffalo is in the position it's in. I think Allen is as you can win. You could definitely win the Super Bowl and go all the way with the Josh Allen. Number three, Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, former league MVP 2019. I think he's the best best running quarterback in the history of the NFL, without the question. Also, too, for the first time in his career, he's got receivers to throw to. How about that? I have to give it up Willie Snead, Marquise Brown, and all this stuff. How about let's get him Odell Beckham, a guy who might be going to the Hall of Fame. Let's get a guy like Zay Flowers in the first round. How about let's get him some help with some actual wide receivers. I think Lamar is going to be phenomenal this year, and he's going to be out now of the Greg Roman offense, where he's going to be running all the time and everything like that. More of a traditional passing offense. Now he's going to have uh, throwing the ball. I do have Lamar behind Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow, is absolutely your second best quarterback in the league. Joe Burrow has been nothing but impressive in every sense. Offensive line terrible, doesn't matter. Defensive line best, second doesn't matter. He gets hit a lot. He scores. He drives his team. I think the only knock I have on Burrow, like at times, is uh, they sometimes it seems like they take Sundays off or Saturdays off or whatever they're playing. Like he doesn't it doesn't always resonate every time. But Burrow is pretty dead on good. Really impressed with Joe Burrow. I think not as impressed with the number one guy, Pat Mahomes. The only thing with Mahomes is I think I've been saying this several times is the gap between Mahomes and everybody else bigger than what we think it is. I use the Michael Jordan parable. Michael Jordan, when he was really in his prime, there was no else. There was no number two. And we may be seeing that with Mahomes. You watch The Last Dance, Michael Jordan talks about Clyde Drexler. People saying, well, Clyde is the next best player, almost as good as Michael Hughes in the finals. I think we might be seeing that right now with Mahomes. Um, Nothing he doesn't do well. I think the schoolyard stuff drives me crazy at times, but I mean, he's awesome. Nothing he doesn't do well. Throws the ball well, uh, runs the ball well. Got great weapons around him. Even like last year, they took the weapons. He still was fantastic. Number one, Pat Mahomes. So those are the Ravery Sports top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. So thank you for that. And we're going ahead and we're going to shift to baseball with our baseball summer series that we have had. We're going to go ahead and take a look at that. So we looked at in previously, we looked at the Norfolk Tides, we looked at the Aberdeen Ironbirds, we've looked at the Blue Bay Sox, we looked at last week Delmarva Shorebirds. This week we're going to talk about players that are possibly going to be available in the draft, which is coming up pretty soon. College World Series. Also, to shout out to the LSU Tigers winning the College World Series. You're going to see why they have a lot of really good players on this list here. So, let's take a look here at some of the top prospects in the draft. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Dylan Cruz. Oh, he was the 2023 Golden Spikes Award winner. You look at the stats. Look at that: 18 home runs, 69 RBIs, 418 average. Um, I have him at number one. And by the way, this is my list. You may see it a little different in different places, just by what I saw of the players in the College World Series. Also looking at a lot of Randy looking at eyeball. So this is my interpretation of it, looking at it. Dylan Cruz. They're they're for sure not going to leave him in center field. I really liked him in center field. Had a great diving catch over the wall. Outstanding defensively. Hits for power. I like his plate presence though. Not a huge guy, but I see a lot of that really strong plate presence with him. Really hits the ball well. Hits for average. Um, should be the number one pick. I think. I don't think the Orioles will get a shot at him, but certainly we'll see. Talk about maybe Hunter Davis being higher. It's already done or whatever, but we'll see. Dylan Cruz was fantastic in the College World Series, number one. Paul Skeens. Um, I thought whenever he pitched, they won in the College World Series. He was fantastic. 209 strikeouts in a college season. That's insane. That's beyond insane. Excellent work by him going forward. I thought he was outstanding. I thought in the College World Series. I thought he was outstanding in the College World Series. So I thought he was really good. Really had a good season. Um, Easily the best pitcher. I think a lot of draft lists you're going to see Cruz one, Skeens two, or Skeens one. Definitely interchangeable. I think Cruz is a better overall player by a hit, but if you really want a pitcher, those two I think really separate themselves from everybody else. Really, so outstanding. Wyatt Langford was almost as good. Florida. He was on a losing team. 19 home runs, 19 RBIs, 49 RBIs, 260 average. Definitely, I think he was a college player of the year. Had it not been for what we saw with those top two guys, I thought he was outstanding. Um, I've even heard him pitching some, possibly. I think he's such a good hitter. That's where I would leave him. He could probably play first base. He's got good size, hits for power. Sometimes with college baseball and aluminum bat, you can't always see the power. You can definitely see the power with a Wyatt Langford. Definitely has the strength to go ahead and play well, hits for power. Definitely Wyatt Langford. College baseball, Wyatt Langford. Uh, Definitely the guy. Number three, Chase Dollander, pitcher for Tennessee. 7-6, 475. I don't think they were quite as good Tennessee in the College World Series, but I thought he did very well. I think definitely he is an ace type stuff. Throws the ball very hard. Good pitching prospect. I think this is somebody. This is now closer to the Orioles area. I think the Orioles. I think are. Uh, search it up here, but I think the Orioles draft pick 17. I think they're looking it up now. Man, I really appreciate your cooperation. So I think yeah, the Orioles they're picking. So they're not picking first, thank God, because they've been terrible the last few years. They're picking like 17 is what I thought. So they're picking 17. So I think Galliner will probably won't be there. But I think 17. I think is I think of him like a little bit higher than 9, 10. Here's a guy who might be there despite the record. Rhett Lauder, 15 and 0. Let me say that again. 15 and 0, 187 ERA. Outstanding stuff. That it, I thought the game he pitched against LSU he was phenomenal. I thought he really carried him. I thought he was probably the reason why they were there. Not what you call overpowering stuff, which I think why he'll get drafted lower. I would be elated if the O's went ahead and took this guy, as good as he was. Somebody has to be smart enough with 417 to take him, but he doesn't have that, um, uh, flame throwing stuff that you see a lot of times. But again, we'll see how that goes going forward. I thought he was fabulous. I thought he was fabulous in the College World Series. Kyle Teal hit a game-winning home run. I saw in the Super Regional. Make sure we got Virginia into the College World Series. 407 average, 13 home runs, 69 RBIs. Very good. I thought he was playing for Virginia. Excellent catcher prospect as well. Excellent catcher. I don't think there's almost any chance that Orioles would take a catcher, but baseball draft is truly Ozzie Newsom's best player available. If he's the best player on the board, I think this is a guy who might be available at 17 too. I think that's definitely possible. He should go higher. He's really good. Here's some guys that legitimately should be there. Not as high a prospects. Brendan Taylor, third base at TCU. TCU was really good. 23 on run, 70 RBIs at 308. I like him. I don't know. I think I'm a little bit more not as sure with him as far as his power at the major league level. I'm not sure if he has that aluminum bat power, but definitely I think he's definitely a good prospect. Third base is probably right for him. Some guys at third base, maybe another guy end up there, but this third base for him, I think is probably right. Tommy Troy, I think is a good prospect as well. I'm a little bit more sure of his power stroke. I really like him as far as hitting the ball. I thought he was really good at Stanford. I thought he had to carry Stanford more than I think a lot of these guys on this list. So I really like him as a prospect. That's why I have him higher than the number 9, Jake Gola. Um, Numbers are obviously phenomenal. 23 home runs, 90 RBIs, 321 average. Only question I have with him is okay, you're hitting behind Kyle Teal all year. So he was kind of protected a bit. So uh, he's been pretty good though. I think like he's probably a late first round guy, late first round prospect. Definitely, I could definitely see putting him in the Orioles system, and definitely there's a place for him there to play well. I think he's pretty good as a prospect. The only question is, he, again, had that great combo there. So we'll see about that. Trey Morgan, I love Trey Morgan. Trey Morgan is Lenny Dykstra. Trey Morgan is Bill Ripken. Trey Morgan is a lot of hustle when I've seen him playing at first base. I saw him dive so many times. It's not even funny. I love him. Great speed. Um, Interesting, he's playing first base, more of a power position. I think that's just how good his team was. I think more you'll see him in the outfield, maybe a middle infield guy going forward. Trey Morgan, LSU. So those are some of the names. If you're going to watch for with the Orioles in the College World Series, so keep that in mind. There, definitely check that out going forward. Okay, couple things here. You want it, you got it. Jordan Westbrook has been promoted from the majors. I already started a couple games, already hitting well. When I heard about it, I said finally in my Facebook post because finally Jordan Westbrook is a Baltimore Oriole. Deserved it. Absolutely deserved it. Absolutely was killing it at Bowie. Absolutely was killing it in Norfolk. Absolutely. And Frazier has been very pedestrian. I think. I don't think he's done enough for me to say, all right, well, we're going to go ahead and keep this guy in mind. He's been phenomenal, really forced their hand. Second base, going for the infield of the future. We're definitely looking at Westberg at second, Gunner at third, Jackson Holiday at short. That's what I think was going to be. 1 out of 2 with the Rays. Orioles won one of those 2 games with the Rays. Also 2 out of 3 with the Mariners as well. Uh, I have noticed they're fighting a little harder now in these games. Not to nitpick because they obviously have been phenomenal, fourth best record in all of baseball. But, not as decisive lately. Now we're in the dog days a bit, playing with a little bit of guys that are out, etc. So we'll see that. And lost 2 out of 3 to the Rays, to the Reds. So tough loss last night, late innings as well. Let's go ahead and recap the entire month for your Baltimore Orioles. So let's go ahead and recap the month of June. So we're doing this on the 29th, late here in the afternoon. So there's obviously one more game left, so I put that June 29th. 48 and 31, won 5 out of the last 10, currently second in the AL East, fourth best record in all of the majors. I thought the Orioles have been outstanding. We're at the point of the season where you definitely know what you have, definitely know what the skills are of the team. So let's take a look here. Let's take a look at the batting order. Adley, Austin Hayes. Also, by the way, not here, Mountcastle, not here, Cedric. Cedric just got back in the lineup. Mountcastle's still out. I haven't even heard either, so I got to really check on what's going on with Mountcastle. But interesting to see. Austin Hayes doing a lot of first base, doing a lot of leadoff. They kind of moved that around a bit. But Austin, I think he's an all-star. When I did the all-star video, I tried to almost talk myself out of Austin Hayes being an all-star. All the stats pointed to me all-star worthy first half. He was outstanding. I think Austin Hayes definitely belongs in the all-star game. This guy absolutely will be in the all-star game. I think it'd be a crime if he doesn't start. Adley, I think he's the face of the franchise. I thought he's been outstanding by every metric. Um, can't run out of superlative talking about how good Adley Rushman is. Anthony Santander now leading the team in home runs and RBIs. Streaky is the word. Um, he'll have he'll have stretches where he can't buy a hit, and then he'll have stretches where he can't do anything but hit it out of the park. Anthony Santander is fantastic. I think definitely a street player. That's the only thing with him. As long as he stays healthy, he kind of drives you crazy with these slumps at times. But very good, Anthony Santander. Ryan O'Hearn. I think people may not agree with me. I really not sure what they're going to do with Mountcastle when he gets back. They're not going to sit Ryan O'Hearn in the squad. Hitting over 300, hitting in key spots. Um, I don't know. I really think they may leave him in. I don't know that. But or if they do, maybe move him to a DH role, etc. Ryan O'Hearn has been very good off the bench. I don't know about the long term impact of that, but Ryan O'Hearn's been really good. Gunnar Henderson, breakout month of June. Waiting for Gunnar. Here's Gunnar. Gunnar, his bat speed just jumps off the page. And he had a role there game where he had like 3 home runs in 3 days. I think it was 3 and 4 days. He was fantastic. Um, I think his defense hasn't been as good as I thought, though. I will say that everywhere. He kind of has good plays in games, and then that's the only not. I think like that's why I like leaving him at third. I don't think he's outstanding at all those slots he plays defensively, but I think third. I think is probably where it should be. Aaron Hicks played a lot of center field for um, played for Cedric Mullins. I think he's cooling a bit, but he's been outstanding for them. I think way more than what they expected. Maybe just a 10-day body or something. And see how he is. He's definitely keeping Colton Cowser, I think, in the minors, keeping those guys at Kerstad in the minors because he's playing well. No question about it. Ramon Urias, he's turning into a super utility player. We see him a lot. Playing first, playing second, playing third, DHing. He's playing a lot. He's about the same though, considering the circumstances. I thought he's been decent enough. Adam Frazier played most of the month. Lost his spot. Jordan Westberg. I think Westberg is going to be the guy going forward. He'll play. I think he'll split time though. Um, I think he'll split time at best. I think with Westberg. I think that's the best outcome for him that he can hope for. Jorge Mateo. I don't think they're going to wait a lot longer with him, with all this talent they have in the minors. I think fans are on him unnecessarily, though, in my opinion. I think he kind of is what he is, though. I don't think he's. I don't think he's more than. I don't know what fans' expectation is. He's about 230, 220 hitter, good defensive player. That's about what he is. I don't think he's any more than that. I think they may move him. I think that might be the reality for him. Uh, but yeah, I think it's unnecessary. Really. I mean, and I don't know what the expectation for him is. That maybe different for me. I didn't expect the guy. What do you expect to do? Him 35 home runs? He's not. He's a middle. He's a defensive middle infielder. He's doing about what I expected. Kyle Gibson lost last night with the Reds. ERA is kind of keeping up there with Gibson. I think 8-5 though. He's competitive in games. I like him. I think he's not an ace by any stretch, but he's very competitive in games. Very keeps the team in games. So definitely like that. Dean Kramer is at 8-3, 4.50 ERA with the Orioles. Dean Kramer, I still like his upside. I still think when he is good, I think he is really, really good. I think some nights he just doesn't have it. Been inconsistent at times. Tyler Wells, I think, has been very good. I think he's probably been your best pitcher this season. Not as great in the last start. Tyler Wells has been obviously the best way to say it, use a boxing term, pound for pound, been your best pitcher. When he's been on the mound, he's probably been the best starter they've had all season. I still think he kind of runs short in games. For me, I kind of like starters to go into the 7th inning, 6th inning more consistently. Wells is kind of out in 5 black. That's why he hasn't won more games. Bradish, Bradish has been good. I think like kind of the same deal with Wells. I mean, I like more innings out of him. I like a little bit more bulldog in him. But I think he's been good. I think we haven't seen as much bad Bradish. I think in this is this year. And Cole Irvin, I definitely think they're going to start considering Grayson here pretty soon again. We'll see. I think that's probably the lack of pitching has probably saved him. It's saved him a spot. Grayson they've sent down. Deal Hall still kind of struggled, so I think that's probably saved them even this long. Pitching, Felix Batista, 21 saves, definitely should be in the All-Star game, no question about it. Cano, I think, has had his highest ERA all season, a massive 1.14. I think it's jumped over the 1-run mark for the first time all season. Canelo Perez, I think he's been better. I think big drop from last year. You really look at last year, the guys that had Perez, Tate, um, in the middle innings, and they really look for Michael Givens. They've almost got nothing from those guys compared to last year. Perez has been better lately, but he struggled. Uh, again, this has been like almost a whole new group here in a lot of ways, giving them this excellent bullpen run. Danny Colombe has been fantastic. I think he's been definitely the third best reliever. High leverage situations, left-hander, anything that Cano doesn't handle, he's handles. You can see Brandon Hyde has a lot of confidence in him. Brian Baker has been about the same. 4.18 ERA, not bad. Um, More of a long guy. I think like using him in the fifth-ish innings, things like that. Again, Bradish not eating up those innings. I think that's the guy you use like a Brian Baker, in those type of situations. Mike Baumann hasn't been bad at all. I think this is definitely a better role for him. Kind of like guy they tried as a starter. I think he's been decent enough as a reliever. So no problem at all with the work he's done as well. Bullpen's been good. Bullpen, I got really no complaints about the bullpen, considering the starting pitching that we have had. All right. All right. So thank you very much for watching us this week, the Ravery Sports Podcast. Next week, we're going to go ahead and talk about top 10 running backs in the NFL as well. And also, too, we're going to do our MLB tiers as well. So we're going to do like all-star version of that. Who are the elite teams? Who are the mediocre teams in the MLB? And also, too, we like the Orioles and Ravens, like we always do. Thank you very much for watching us, the Ravery Sports Podcast, the Baltimore Sports Podcast. Thank you. You enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy all the games.